Hello, everyone. Well, it wouldn't be Studio Squim if I didn't have a bit of a late start. Had some equipment malfunctions there that prevented me from starting, but I see we have 0 live viewers anyway. So if you're watching this after post live broadcast, thank you for joining us and checking out these Battlestar Galactica cards. Great game that came out right around 2006, based on the Battlestar Galactica reboot that was on the Sci-Fi Channel. Uh, uh, Lived for, they released the base set. Excuse me. They released the base set, and following that, they had one expansion called Betrayal. But after that, unfortunately, it didn't make the cut. So we got the base set and one expansion, which is more than enough to get some really good games in there. In fact, I just played a game with a friend of the channel, Mike from Do Not Pass Go, the YouTube channel Do Not Pass Go, and we had a great time with it. Definitely going to play it again. It was a lot of fun, and we both enjoy the theme. We both like Battlestar Galactica, so it's a fun game to play. And I hope that after watching that game and this broadcast of this booster opening, that you'll be intrigued as well. Now, I do have a couple different cameras here. Of course, you see me. I also have the CIC board, that's what I'm calling this, where we'll be opening the boosters. And then when a good one comes up, an interesting card comes up, we'll switch to the Dratus. Slightly out of focus. You can see that was part of my equipment issue there, but we'll get a little closer look at the card that I was hoping to highlight. But in this case, we're going to take a quick look, and this way I'll describe the card a little bit, and you'll know what I'm looking for when I open these cards and what makes them good. Now, there are a couple different kinds, a couple different suits, as you would call them. There's personnel, ships, missions, and events. I think they call some different. We'll see it when it comes up. But you can see that's denoted up here in the top left corner. And there's this mission has a silver border. Personnel have a red border. Missions have a gold color. And let's see, personnel is red. Ships are blue. Missions are gray, or it's the silver, and then the events are the gold color. So you'll notice that right away. You'll see that over here, there are 3 little sections. And this is a bad example, but over here, there are 3 sections. This is where you're going to see resource cost. This is persuasion. This extra cost here is logistics. And then this last one is security. And as we go through the cards, you'll see different cards. The ships and the personnel can double as resources, and they'll have one of these 3 symbols at the bottom. And you can set that card aside in a resource row at the bottom of the board and use that to pay for different cards that have a resource cost over here. This particular case, missions do not have a cost or a designated resource type here, but we'll see more as they come along. But that's the basic gist of it. Right here, you see the title and then a subtitle here. For characters, of course, it's going to be the character's name, and then what distinguishes them from other ones. There'll be cards that we'll talk about, maybe Apollo, who's a main character in the show. There'll be different versions of Apollo. There'll be Apollo Political Liaison, Apollo Commander Air Group, Apollo such and such. And there's about 4 or 5 different kinds. So you'll see the name here and then the subtitle that will differentiate it. And what that means is that in the game, you can't play 2 Apollo Political Liaisons at the same time, or have 2 of them on the same board. On the board at the same time in different spots. But if you have Apollo Political Liaison and Apollo Commander Air Group, you can stack those on top of each other, and then use the different effects. And throughout the game, there's an opportunity for you to switch those, and you can maybe the commander air group works for a particular scenario, but then you've got another card out that would benefit from the political liaison version of Apollo, and you can switch those. But that's the point of these, the name and then the subtitle. Down here, you can see it says resolve 2 personnel. This is specifically for missions. You need to have 2 personnel, which are the characters from the show with the red border. You need to have at least 2 of them to play. And then there's some game effects here, and the missions are a little different from other ones. So we'll explore that a little bit. Over here, you'll see there is what they call the mystic number. In this case, a number 3 in the blue. And throughout the game, during challenges and some card effects call for you to draw a mystic value. And what that means is that you'll draw the top card off of your deck and place it face down, and you'll use that mystic number. Now, in the case of a challenge, you'll add that to your power, and that makes your card even that much more powerful. Your skill will go up, and you're more likely to win the challenge. So higher number in mystic value is typically better. There are some cards whose effects say draw mystic value, and the person who has the lowest value does this, or the person with the highest value does that. So that's the mystic number. It kind of adds a little bit of randomness to, instead of rolling a dice to add something to your skill, that mystic number substitutes for that. And it ends up culling your deck a little, or not culling, but burning your cards a little bit. But the good news is with this game, deck is not life. Once you run out of cards, you just shuffle your discard and start over again. So that kind of helps make that a little better, since you're drawing cards a lot. And speaking of drawing cards, you'll see down here there's a number 1 in red. That is the Cylon value. And at the end of every turn, there's what's called the Cylon phase, and you'll draw the card, the top card off of your deck, and put it face down. And bottom line, mystic value, higher mystic value is better, lower Cylon value is better. So you get a lot more bonuses out of this number, and with this number, you get less frequent attacks by Cylons, which is a distraction and can sometimes take out units that you wouldn't necessarily want to have taken out, or you want to keep on there. So good cards that come up, I'm going to put those up on the Dratus, and we'll take a closer look at it. But for now, we're going to focus here on the CIC main board. You can see here some boosters. I've got 16 packs here. Now, these were purchased at different times from different sellers on eBay. Whenever I found a really great deal, or something came up and I just had to have them, I would buy these. So they did not come out of the same box or from the same seller. So any odds of you're going to get X number of foil or limited edition, all those odds are out the window. It's just we're going to cross our fingers and hope we get some nice stuff. Now, there are a couple cards I'm looking forward to. I do have a decent collection, but there are some holes in there, so hopefully those will come up. I did have a presentation, but it's not in front of me right now. But as those cards come up, I'll let you know. But otherwise, any foils are a welcome addition, because I do have a pretty good collection here. So let's just get started. That's enough talking. We're going to get started. We'll get through these 16 packs and see what we come up with, and hopefully some good cards come up. Now here's that personnel that I was talking about with the red border, and now you can see, let's put this up on the Dratus for you so we can get a little closer. But here you can see the red border that I was talking about, and here is the cost. Now D is a cost of 3 logistics, and down here at the bottom, this designates that if you were to use this card as a resource card instead of playing it to your field as a challenger that could perform actions, you would put this in the resource, and it would count as a logistics resource, and that would give you one logistics point. As you play the game, this becomes a stack, and you would add cards. They don't have to have that designation. You just start stacking these cards one after the other, and they'll be a logistics stack, and each card in that stack acts as 1 point. So we'll just leave that there just to eliminate some white space, and go back to the CIC board. Now, first was D. That was a nice one. Here's a mission formal dress function. You can see the political keyword there. Resolve 2 politicians, commit all officers. Now, this is an interesting one, and actually one that I was hoping I would get more of. Even though it's a common, I only have like 1 or 2 in my deck, and you can have as many, or in my collection, you can have as many as 4 of each card in your deck. Not only is this good because it's got a 3 as its mystic value and a 0 as its Cylon value, so that's a win-win there. But if you're running a deck that is using political factions and cards, that's a good one. If your opponent is using a lot of military subtype cards, you can commit all of their officers, which means that they can't challenge or anything like that, and puts them kind of back in the reserve row, so you can pretty much clear the board for yourself to be able to challenge directly and gain more influence. Here is next is Luxury Liner. That's a 2 Mystic and 0 Cylon. So again, not too bad. I believe the highest out of all the Mystic values is 4 that you see on some of the limited edition versions of this, and a Cylon value of 0 certainly helps. And here is the power number that I was referring to when you make a challenge. That's the number you use to compare to your opponent's card that you challenged, and you'll compare those 2 skills. There are cards that their effects, add or subtract from that number, and then of course you would draw for the mystic value to add to that. So power 1, not real good. In fact, this next card, Colonial Shuttle, has the same thing. This one is a common card, and man, I have like a million of these things. I can use them to start fires or whatever because I have so many. And has a mystic value of 1. Now the Cylon value of 0, so that's nice, but a power of 1, does more cannon fodder than anything like that, and a cost of 2 persuasion on there. And you can see this. Here's another example of a resource type there. That would be good if you wanted to start a persuasion resource stack. Then you would use that card to start that stack. So next is an event. You can see the gold border there. Catastrophe. Defeat all target persistent, or defeat 1 target persistent mission. So if someone has one of these missions and it's just causing you a lot of trouble, you can negate that mission, send it to the owner's discard pile. Here's an example of a ship. You can see the blue border there. That's Raptor 563. Mystic value of 3, which is nice. Cylon value of 1, so fairly low. Power of 2. You really need to have some effects that are going to help you get that up a little bit if the Raptor is going to be any kind of a challenger, and a cost of 3 logistics. Another mission, Shuttle Diplomacy, another political subtitle there. Resolve 1 ship and 1 personnel to gain 3 influence. Now the point of the game is to get 20 influence, and the type of base that you choose determines your starting influence. You may start at 9, you may start at 5, you may start at 11, but you're trying to manipulate that number to gain more influence through challenges and try to get to 20. And that's one win condition, is to get to 20 influence and you win. And the other conversely, the other win condition is if all of your opponents, this can be a multiplayer game up to the 4 or 6, I think, but if all of your opponents have 0 influence, then you would by default be the winner. You would be the last one there. So that's what that is about. So there's another event, Vision of Serpents, another common card. Target personnel gets -2 power. That's a rough one. Mission Red, you're an evil Cylon. If you're a fan of the show, you know that there was a test that Dr. Baltar was running, and if the test came back green, you were a human, and if it was red, you're a Cylon. They were trying to find out who the Cylon spies were in the fleet. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but if you haven't seen it by now, I don't know where you've been. But another one, oh, there's a 5 mystic value, so that's a handy one to have with only 1 on the Cylon value. Resolve 1 civilian unit, put target Cylon unit into its owner's hand, and that player loses 2 influence. So that's even though that's a common, that's a pretty good card. That's a pretty good card to have in there, especially if you know your opponent's going to have Cylons in there. Returning it to its owner's hand is a tough one because then when your opponent plays it, usually or typically cards play from your hand into your reserve, and you have to wait till your next turn to move it to the alert phase when it can engage your opponent and make challenges. There are cards, of course, effects that can move things outside of the phase where you can move cards, but you know that's part of the intricacy of the game. You can see here a Cylon Centurion with the subtitles of Cylon and Machine. Those have effects. There are cards that affect Cylons that have the Machine keyword there. Power of 2. Another one, see, this is a 0 mystic value. That's bad. And a Cylon value of 4. You can see down here. So that's, if you're making a Cylon deck, like is my dream, that's something you have to keep in mind, because the mystic value of 0 is not going to help you in challenges at all. And having a Cylon value of 4 combined with your opponent's really makes the risk of having a Cylon attack at the end of the phase. And whether you're a Cylon or not, you're going to have to answer that challenge. So best to avoid Cylon attacks at the end of your phase. Another event, Suicide Bomber. And a mission, Stern Leadership. Resolve 1 officer and 1 pilot. So that's another one where if you're running a military one, that's good. This is an example of the persistent. In fact, let's put this up on the Dratus here. So since we're going to talk about it a little bit. Resolve 1 officer and 1 pilot. So as long as you've got personnel that have those subtitles of officer and pilot, that will qualify this to work for you. This is persistent, which means some missions, you just play it, you get the effect, and then it goes to discard. In this case, it's got the persistent keyword, which means you're going to get that effect, and then it'll stay on the board and move to your resource row, and you can continue as long as you have the officer and the pilot. You can continue to take advantage of that effect once per turn, and it gives all pilots +1 power, which is always a welcome bonus, especially since that would be on top of any other effects. So if you've got other cards that add to your power level, you would always have that on the back burner to add 1. So that's a good one to have. Here's another personnel, Cylon or Centurion Ambusher, cost of 4. You're not going to get that out very quickly in the thing. It does have a power of 3. And if you commit this, which means moving it from your front row to your second row, target Cylon threat gets +2 power. So you can use this you commit this one to give another personnel +2, which is good. That's good. Mission Alert 5. 1 officer, ready all fighters. That means you can move all the fighters that have moved from your alert status where they can challenge to the back row where they are not able to challenge. You can move them all back up to the top, to the front, and be able to either defend against other challenges or attack all over again. So that's good. That's a good thing to have. All right, what do we have here? Event under arrest. There with a screenshot of Gaius in jail there. Put target personnel on top of its owner's hand. Again, moving things or back to its owner's deck, which means they have to draw it again, and then they have to pay for it again, and then it goes to the second row, the resource row, and you have to wait till the next turn to move it to ready unless you have an effect. So it's potentially taking a unit out of play for two turns, which is bad news. Outmaneuvered, target ship gets -2 power. It only costs 1 persuasion, and it's got 3 mystic value. So that's a nice one to have on hand as well. A target ship gets -2 power, so that'll help, especially if you're defending with some of those earlier cards like the shuttle, where you only have 1 power. Knocking your opponent's power down by 2 can be a big help. There's a Boomer with the scramble, which means this personnel can defend as though it were a ship. When cards are in your front row, personnel can only attack other personnel, ships can only attack other ships, with the exception of specific keywords like scramble, where she can defend as a ship. Let's move this back here. She can defend as a ship. And there are others like strafe, where you can attack as either a ship or a personnel. So all kinds of different ways to get around the little rules there. Here is a mission misdirect. When a personnel you control would be defeated, you may sacrifice this mission and keep that personnel in play. Again, that's a good one to have. And look at that mystic value of 4. That's really nice, and a Cylon value of only 1. And because it's a mission, there's no cost, and it is persistent. So you can play it at any time. It can stay on your board as long as you have a civilian and an officer there. You can take advantage of that effect. So that's a good one to have in your back pocket in case you lose a challenge with a personnel. Oops. Saltai Colonial Colonel, there's that keyword officer that I was talking about earlier, that you could use the formal dress card. Cost of 4, yikes, but a power of 3, not too bad. Mystic value 1, and Cylon value of 2, which isn't too bad. And he can count as a logistics stack there. Cylon missile battery. Now this is a personal favorite of mine, especially because I was looking at making a Cylon deck. Let's get this up here on the Dratus. Expedite, which means you don't necessarily, if you pay for another card and you have extra resources in that stack, you can use those extra points, those extra supply points to pay for this one. It only costs 1. So that's nice. Usually if you pay for a card and the stack you're using overpays, like say you have 4 in a supply stack and a card only costs 3 and you're unable to use that 1, it just disappears. You lose it. So in this case, you can take advantage of that 1 spare point. Target Cylon unit gets +2 power. That's nice. And look at that mystic value of 4, but a Cylon value of 3. So you're taking a bit of risk with that one. But if you're running a Cylon themed deck, that's definitely one you want to have. Mission suspicions. Resolve 1 civilian unit and 1 officer. Target player loses 2 influence. That's a tough hit, and this is because it's a mission, it's free. So that's a good one to have handy. Tom Zarek, great character in this show. Very interesting. Kind of a thorn in the side on the political side of everything on the show. So that was kind of fun to watch him be kind of a fly in the ointment for both the military and the political factions within the fleet. Cost of 4, so it's a bit pricey. Only mystic value of 1 and a Cylon value of 2, so it's power of 2. Kind of tough to justify that one because it's so expensive, but only 2. Does have a politician subtitle there, which can come in handy with some cards that can boost his power up. But I don't know. That's a tough one to justify there. I do see someone has joined us live. Thank you for joining the broadcast, and please feel free to make uh, post comments there, and we'll address those if you have a comment or a question. I would definitely love to have your feedback while we go through these. Next one is an event called Fury. Target unit gets X power, where X plus X power, where X is that unit's mystic value. So, gosh, if you have one of those personnel with a high mystic value, you're gonna help yourself with that one. So that's an interesting card to have. Next is Mission Colonial Day. Ready all civilian units. Not too bad. Colonial Shuttle. Network hacking. Each player chooses one commit a Cylon unit he or she controls, or commit all ships he or she controls. Yikes! So that's what do you do there? Obviously, if you don't have any Cylons on the board, you're stuck. You're committing all of your ships, which is a tough one. And committing a Cylon unit isn't as bad. Here's another Colonial Viper Squadron 900, a fighter. Look at that cost of 6. You're not getting that one out anytime soon, but a power of 4, which is very high, so that makes it kind of worth it. Mystic value of 3, that's another good high number. The trade-off is the Cylon value is 3, so you're kind of walking a thin line there. Let's see, Ordnance Freighter, 0 power. And cost 3 to get on the board. Let's read that effect. Each time you, let's do this. Each time you spend a resource stack, you may commit this ship. If you do, generate one security point. So it does have an advantage there, but with a power of 0. Yeah, you're going to keep that in your back row and just use that as cannon fodder as the game progresses. So, it could have some value. An intrepid player with a good strategy might be able to take good advantage of that one. And then here's Alert 5, again, ready all fighters. That's a nice one if you're focusing on the ships and specifically fighters. Here we go. Start off with a mission, pulling rank, and Commander Adama doesn't look happy there. Again, a mission, so no cost there. Mystic value of 5, that's almost worth having it in your deck just for that, but resolve 1 officer, commit 2 target personnel. So you could definitely hobble your opponent with that one. A mystic value of 1, so that reduces that risk, but you get the 5 mystic value. Ooh, that's a big bonus. That would help a lot with the challenges. Next is a ship that's passenger cruiser. Again, a 3 cost with 2 power. I don't know. 3 mystic value is nice though. So maybe you want to put up a line of ships on your alert row to kind of be a nice barrier to your opponent challenging you directly. That's maybe that would come in handy. There's Under Arrest again. Boomer, hell of a pilot. Saw that one in an earlier pack. Outmaneuvered, that's another one we already have. Misdirection, another one we already have. Well, that's what happens. Colonel Saltai again, Cylon missile battery. Not opposed to having an extra one of those. Here's one we haven't seen, Suspicious. Or maybe we did. Target player loses 2 influence. That sounds kind of familiar there. There's Tom Zarek again. Raptor 227, cost of 2, power of 1. Here we go. Bingo Fuel. I've used this one a couple of times to my advantage. That helped against in the game that I recorded previously. Put target alert ship into its owner's hand. Cost of 2. mystic value of 3, Cylon value of 2. So not too bad if you want to save yourself. You can use that at the last minute to, if a ship is challenging you, you can pull that out. Here we go, number 6, Secret Companion. Let's take a look here. Put that up on the Dratus. And number 6, of course, everyone knows number 6 from the TV show. Secret Companion, she does have the Cylon subtitle there. And interesting with this one, a power of 0, but it doesn't matter because it's got this keyword vision. This personnel can't challenge or defend, which is on theme with the TV show. Gaius Baltar was frequently haunted, followed, whatever word you want to use, by a vision of number 6, who was always kind of the voice in his ear, kind of manipulating him to do things. And so that was an interesting dynamic to see her do that. What does she do though? Commit, exhaust, target other personnel. So that's pretty good. A cost of 4, so it takes a little bit to get her on the board, but once she's there, you can commit her, and she'll take out another personnel for you. So that's not take it out as in take it, send it to your discard pile, but at least save you the threat for that particular version. And here's where I wish this was a little better focused, but here's that red Cylon text I was talking about. If you were to turn this over, it's still a little blurry. So each player commits a personnel he or she controls. Yeah, that could hurt you because if you're saving a personnel or a ship for the Cylon, in case there's going to be a Cylon threat after you've already played against your opponent, this one comes out and takes that one out of play for you. So then you're out of luck. So that's a tough one if it comes up at the right time for you. Last one in this booster pack, an event, military coup. When you play this event, you may exhaust target personnel you control. If you do, exhaust target personnel an opponent controls. Exhausting means if you had this personnel on the table, when they are face or straight up like this, and in the alert row, they can challenge, use their effect, anything like that. If you were to challenge in this with number 6, you would, this is not the best example, but you would turn it to its side. That means it's exhausted. It can no longer challenge anybody. So exhausting a card kind of takes some of the teeth off of it. So you definitely don't want that to happen to you. Get my CIC board back in position. I have 3 viewers now. Thank you very much for joining me live. Please do put comments in there if you have a question, or maybe I misspoke about a rule or something like that. I definitely welcome that kind of feedback or comments. Maybe you have a particular card that's a favorite. I definitely throw that out there and we can talk about it. Hopefully it'll even come up. Or maybe you see a card you want to make a trade. Let me know, and I'm open to that. A few cards we already seen: so Vision of Serpents, red, you're an evil Cylon, Colonial Viper 229, again a 3 cost, 2 power, 3 mystic value, not too bad, so that's a nice one to have. Here's a new one for us: Endless Task. This is an event, cost of 1 security. Target player chooses 1, commit a unit he or she controls, or exhaust a unit he or she controls. So either way, your opponent is going to be down 1 on that. Here is another event: Standoff. Prevent all influence gain this phase. So if it looks like your opponent's going to get a big win against you, maybe you're undefended out in the fleet there, and your opponent is going to challenge you, and they're looking to gain a lot of influence that way. You can pull that card and kind of pull the teeth out of their attack. So that's good. Here's Crash Down, Alex Quartaro, keyword officer, cost of 2, power of 1, mystic value 1, and Cylon value of 1. Kind of cannon fodder there. He's a common, so that, and it shows in those values there. Laura Roslin, big player in the show, if you're a fan of the show, Colonial President with the Politician as subtitle. Cost of 3 logistics, power of 2. You can manipulate that. Commit to draw a card, not too bad, especially when your draw pile runs out. You can just shuffle it and start back over. So there's no drawback to continually drawing more cards. You're just getting more options that way. Hilo, a personal favorite of mine, this particular character, Carl Agathon. Uh, Again, kind of a moderate. This is a common card. You can't see on the camera here, but part of the card. This is one thing I liked about BSG in general. Part of the card number is its rarity, so it tells you right off the bat if it's a common, uncommon, rare, limited edition, that kind of thing. So this is a common, and you can tell because it costs 3, but the power is only 2, and the mystic value is 1. So that's another one you would just kind of put out there for your opponent to challenge, and you're just kind of defending yourself. You're not going to lose not going to lose too much. Here's one I was hoping to use in my last game, but it didn't come up. Increased loadout. It's a mission, so it's free. Resolve 1 officer and 1 pilot. It's got the persistence, so it stays on the board, and all fighters get +1 power. Oh, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going right to the Dratus with this. We got a foil. That's great. I didn't think this would happen, and this is a rare. It's a good one to have. This personnel, the foil is kind of making a glare here. It's difficult to read, but this is CAG with the military subtitle. It's a mission. Resolve 1 officer. It does have the persistence, so it stays on the field, which is great. All ships you control get +1 power. So add that up with what was the other one we had that adds 1 power. Yeah, you're starting to add up. If you combine that with stern leadership, which is also persistent, that adds all pilots get 1 power, all ships 1 power. So you can see adding these up with the persistent stuff, you can really make a powerful fleet. I'm not going to have that foil there on the board since it is a little difficult to see. Makes a glare. Colonial Viper 442, another one that's pretty expensive, a 4, but power 3 is nice. And again, if you have some of these other cards, it'll boost that power up even more. Mystic value of 3, not bad. Cylon value 3, again, kind of you're walking that line there where you get a nice powerful unit. Good mystic value, but you run the risk of a Cylon attack at the end of the phase there. But not too bad, not too bad. Here we go. If you're looking to have Cylons in your deck there, a ship, a scouting raider. This is a rare, so that's nice. You can tell again by the cost and the power. This is a cost of 5 and a power of 4. Again, here's the drawback of having a lot of Cylons or even a Cylon deck. The mystic value is 0, and the Cylon value down here in the corner is 3. So that's again, it's fun to have that Cylon deck and to really stick it to your opponent, but that's tough. If you draw that 0 mystic value, you get no help. That can sometimes make or break a challenge, but it is fairly cheap. Oh no, I beg your pardon. It's the opposite. It's very expensive at a 5 and a power of 4, which is good. Did it have an effect? When this card enters play as a ship, look at the top card of your target deck. Target deck means you can look at your deck, you can look at your opponent's deck, however you want to play that. The advantages, again, if you've got a card with an effect that forces you and your opponents to draw a mystic value, you can look at the top card of your opponent's deck and you'll know what mystic value they're going to play, so you know whether or not that effect is going to help or hurt you. Or if you're going to challenge, you know they're going to draw, you know what their mystic value is going to be, so you can kind of play a little bit of chess in your head and try to play out exactly how, am I going to be able to win this if I have, do I have enough power with my effects and everything? Is his mystic value going to trump that, or will it work? Anyway, an event, you gave yourself over with the civilian subtitle. It does have expedite. That's the one I was talking about, where if you underspend on a supply stack and you have an extra persuasion, you can use that to pay for this event and not waste the value there. The effect, target civilian gets +2 power. Again, not too bad there. It's a cost of 1. Not too bad. Mystic value of 3, so that makes it kind of nice to have. Oh, Billy, um, an uncommon, but cost of 3, not terrible. Power of 2. When this card enters play as a personnel, gain 1 influence. That's not too bad. You get it at least once. And some of these effects that cause you to put a card back into your deck, you can use that on yourself and put Billy back into your hand, play him next turn, and get a free influence that way. So you can get yourself a couple different influence points by manipulating that. A lesson I learned in an earlier game, just earlier today, playing Versus System. There was an effect that I could have used on myself, and I didn't think of that. My frame of mind was, it's me versus my opponent, and all these effects are used to stick it to my opponent, and I didn't think that I could have used a particular effect to help power up one of my my main character in a Versus System game. If you follow that game, you know what I'm talking about. But so an interesting thing that you could use with that. It does cost 3, so it's not cheap, but influence is the name of the game. So if you need influence, that's a good way to kind of use that card and some of the game effects to take advantage of it. Mystic value of 1 and Cylon number of 2. And this one I'm going to send right to the Dreidis. Now, unfortunately, these base cards are a different way. There we go. That works. This is the base card. It's got kind of a yellowish border here, and it's immediately distinguishable because it's horizontal rather than vertical. This one in particular is the aggro ship, and you can see it does have the supply the supply symbol there. It can be logistics. Now this base, I didn't touch on it too much at the beginning. I was hoping I would run into one here. You can see the base doesn't count toward your deck building. You set it to the side. It is always in the game. It does have a power of 4, and as you begin the game, everyone adds up their power from their base, and that gives you what is called your fleet defense. And I've been pointing out the Cylon value, the red Cylon number in the bottom right corner. You add up all of the power from everyone's base, that becomes your fleet defense. So let's say I had 4 and my opponent had a power of 5. That would add up to a fleet defense of 9. And then at the end of the turn, you go all around, and all the face-up cards that are not in your third row that are supply because they lose all of their effects and that sort of thing. You add up the Cylon value in the bottom corner down here, and if that adds up to more than what your fleet defense is, that triggers a Cylon attack. So that's what that's kind of the impetus or what triggers that Cylon attack at the end of the turn. Fleet defense versus Cylon number that I was talking about in the corner. Which base you pick does have a big influence on your game. It determines your starting hand, which in this case would be 3. The influence is 11. That's more than halfway to getting 20 for your influence and winning the game. So you start out with a very high influence of 11, which is great, but you're starting out with only 3. So you better hope you get a strong hand right off the bat. And these bases do have effects that come with them. This one, each time you are challenged, you may exhaust this base. If you do, ready target personnel. At the end of the challenge, commit that personnel. So not a whole lot of loss there by committing, or by exhausting the base. You do lose the ability to use the resource stack that's underneath it. but it can pull you out of a jam if someone's going to challenge you and you don't have any cards to answer that challenge, which means they can attack you directly. That's how you get influence, is if you attack your opponent directly and it's not defended by a card on your side, their power, the power of their card is the amount of influence that your opponent loses. So base ships, very interesting. There are, of course, the Battlestar Galactica is base. There are a couple different versions of that you can choose from. A couple different versions of the ships that were part of the fleet. And yes, there are Cylon-based stars. A personal favorite of mine, I hope it comes up, but I'll talk about it. One of the bases that I like, one of the base stars is if you exhaust that base star, you get one turn immune to the Cylon threat at the end of the turn. So that's one advantage of having a Cylon base star. And if there ends up being a Cylon threat at the end of the turn, you can flip that over and exhaust it, and you're safe from one of those Cylon threats. So that's one kind of neat advantage of having a base star and a Cylon deck as opposed to the usual colonial ships or the Battlestar Galactica. Now, I mentioned as I'm fumbling with this to get the foil open, there was the base set and then one expansion called Betrayal. There was a third expansion in the works. They even printed promo cards for it. One of which was Helena Kane, who was, if you watch the show, was the commander or captain of the Pegasus. That would have been a great expansion. I was hoping that we would find pieces of that expansion somewhere, but I was hoping having another Battlestar, the Pegasus Battlestar, would have been kind of a fun thing to mix up the bases a little bit. Alas, the game was canceled before that expansion came to fruition, but kind of fun to speculate on what may have been. You would have seen some of the characters from that particular arc, and the Pegasus would have been a cool base card to have. Endless Task, another event there. Mission relieved of duty, resolve one officer. If you have one ready officer out there, put target alert personnel into its owner's hand. We've seen that effect or a similar effect. Here's Apollo Political Liaison that I was talking about earlier as the name and the subtitle. Their cost of 4. This is a common, but cost of 4 and a power of 3. Not bad to have out there on the field. Mystic value was 2. Cylon value is 2. So kind of valuable. Kind of nice. Here's another ship from the fleet, Astral Queen. Prison ship. All defending personnel you control gain +1 power. Not bad. Not bad. Vision of Serpents we've seen. Here's another main character, Galen Tyrell. He was another cool guy, the chief. Cost of 2, power of 1. This is a common card. You can tell by the values on here. A mystic value of 1, but a Cylon value of 1. So that's not bad. And as effect, each time a ship you control enters play, you may commit this personnel to ready that ship. So when you play units from your hand, a unit being personnel or a ship, you play from your hand, it immediately goes into your back row, your reserve row, and it's not able to challenge. So if you have the chief out there, you can commit him, move him from the front row to the back, and move a ship up to the front to either defend or attack. So that's that trade-off can help you out if you're kind of stuck. Crackdown, Expedite, which is again one of those ones where if you exhaust a supply stack and you have excess, you can use it to pay for this one rather than have it go to waste. Target opponent chooses and discards a card. Not a bad little gotcha trick there. Here's Laura Roslin, Colonial President. Commit to draw a card. Again, getting cards out of your deck, not bad. not a bad thing. Cost of 3, power of 2, or power of 2, mystic value 2, kind of middle of the road card for you. Here's Article 23 with the political subtitle. Resolve 1 officer. Each player chooses 1. Sacrifice 1 personnel, which means put it to your discard pile, or lose 2 influence. That can sometimes be a tough choice. That's one of those ones where you kind of sit there and you got to think about it and think ahead to what you want to do. Oh, look here. Get out of there, aggro ship, because here comes another foil. I've a lot luckier than I thought I would be in this. This is a mission, a refueling operation. Resolve 2, what does that say? 2 pilots and 2 ships. Shuffle your discard pile into your deck. So new life for your discard pile if there's a card in there you need, or cards that you need. This is a rare, and it's foil, which is great. Love those foils. I don't have a whole lot of those, so maybe you can or can't tell. I'm pretty happy about that. Cylon value of 0, mystic value of 4. That can be handy. And shuffling your discard pile back into your deck is nice. So that's a great card to have. I'm glad I ended up with that one. Again, it's getting kind of a glare, but I'm pretty proud of it. So I'm going to leave it on the Dratus, and we'll get back to that. So executive privilege. Cost 2 event. Prevent all influence loss this phase. So that can help you out if you're if all of your units are committed or maybe wiped out, and you're just kind of sitting out there and your opponent's going to challenge you. That'll help you prevent any influence loss. That's very valuable. And a mystic value of 3, not too bad, and a Cylon value of only 2, which isn't too terrible. Oh, there's the CAG mission again. So we'll keep moving. Military coup. When you play this event, you may exhaust target personnel you control. If you do, exhaust target personnel an opponent controls. So it's a 1-for-1 there, but a good Hail Mary if you need it. There's number 6 Secret Companion. We've seen that. And there's Crash Down, Expert ECO, Commit. Choose target other unit. If that unit is challenging, it gets +2 power. So Crash Down can give you a bit of a boost there. You commit him, which isn't too much of a loss if you commit him, because he's only 1 power. So it's not too terrible. There we go. I have a little trouble getting that foil open. This one's resisting me. Cost of 3, mystic value of 2. So kind of another middle of the road, but that effect would be nice if you're stuck. Here's another Cylon missile battery. I was talking about that earlier. So having that in there, I'm glad to see that come up, even though it's a common. You would think I would have a lot of them, but I don't. Outmaneuvered, we've seen that before. Target ship gets -2 power. Condition 2, an event that costs 2 security. Commit target unit. Another little handy thing. Mystic value of 3, so that's nice to have there. Cylon power of 2. Accused with the Cylon subtitle. Interesting. Resolve 1 civilian unit. Target personnel gains the Cylon trait until the end of the turn. Now you saw, or I would maybe talked about some effects affecting only Cylon units, and so it would be kind of neat and on theme with the show too. So that's why this card's kind of a fun one. You can accuse a personnel of being a Cylon, and suddenly they've got that in terms of game, they've got that subtitle for a little bit, and you can use that to kind of trick them or set them up for something, maybe send them to the discard pile or back to the owner's hand or something like that. So it's kind of a fun one and on theme, because in the show, once they found, well, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there were, people were accused of being a Cylon, and that was like, whoa, once that genie's out of the bottle, you've got to prove a negative, and show people that you're not a Cylon somehow, convince people that you're not a bad guy. William Adama, the old man, cost of 3, power of 2. While you control another alert personnel, this personnel gets +2 power. I did use this in my game. You can find that on the channel if you have watched that, you saw me play that card a couple of times. When you have another personnel, he goes from 2 to 4. So that's a 4 is a pretty good value to have as your power, and then throw on top of that your mystic value, and now your power is up there. So that was a handy card for me. Downed pilot, a target opponent chooses one, commit a ship that the player controls, or sacrifice a personnel. I believe I used that one once or twice to foil my opponent, and it came in handy. Oh, there's that colonial shuttle again. Colonel Ty, or Saltai, Colonial Colonel. We've seen that before as well. Dr. Baltar, Science Advisor, cost of 4, yikes, and only a mystic value of 2. His effect, commit to defeat target exhausted personnel, which would force that exhausted personnel to go to the discard pile. So if you just defeated someone and you don't want them to come back in, you can take advantage of that and pour a little salt in the wound there. If they're already exhausted, yeah, you can just get them out of the game, and you don't have to see that person challenge you again. Article 23, we've seen that. Oh, there's 2 in a row. That sucks. Earlier we saw red, you're a Cylon. Here's the opposite of that, green, you're a normal human. Resolve with 1 Cylon unit. Put target personnel into its owner's hand. That player gains 2 influence. So double-edged sword there. You get rid of a Cylon unit for probably two turns, but they gain 2 influence, which is not the direction you want them to be going. So that's one where you can, maybe you've already whittled your opponent down and you've got them on the ropes, so you can afford to have them gain 2. But I don't know. There's Boomer Raptor pilots. Martial Law, we've seen that one before, and Cobal's Last Gleaming creates a great title for that card. Resolve 1 officer and 1 pilot. Shuffle target personnel into its owner's deck. You can make one of their personnel just disappear. The stack's getting a little high, so I'm going to move it to the side here. And we'll start again. Still quite a few boosters to go here, so we'll get going. But we're starting to see duplicates. So as we go through, we'll start getting a little faster each time. Interesting. These cards were backwards in the foil. Relieved of duty. I think we've seen that. Put target alert personnel into its owner's hand. Ooh, personnel that's getting ready to challenge you, you can just send that to its owner's hand, possibly take it out of the game, take it out of play for a couple turns. There's Political Liaison, we've seen that. Astral Queen, Vision of Serpents, Galen, Tyrell, Crackdown, yeah, we've seen that. Laura Rosalind, we've seen that one. Commit to draw a card, not too bad. Article 23, executive privilege, prevent all influence loss. Here we go. Skirmishing Raider, cost of 3, power of 4, so that's good. And look at that mystic value. Oh no, it's 0. I thought it was a 5, but closer look is 0. And that's what I was saying was the pitfall of having too many Cylons. So unless you've got a lot of effects that will boost your power, a lot of Cylons might not be the best strategy unless you've planned for that, because this mystic value of 0, kind of disappointing when you turn that over and you're like, oh, you're kind of hoping for at least a 1 or a 2 to help you out. But power of 4 is a good challenger, which is the trade-off for that, and it does have a Cylon value of 4, so that's a risky one. Each time this ship challenges, sacrifice it when that challenge ends. I did have this in my deck in my last game, and that power of 4 really did come in handy. I was willing to risk that mystic value and Cylon power. Executive privilege, we've seen that, and Saltai. I think we've seen that each time you were challenged, you may ready this personnel. When that challenge ends, commit and exhaust this personnel. Interesting. Mining ship, here's another fleet one. Transport, commit, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. Target opponent chooses one to go on the bottom of your deck, put the other one into your hand. So that's not too bad. You're kind of putting your fate into the hands of your opponent, but you could come out on top with that. With just a power of 1, though, not a big help as far as challenges. Mystic value of 2, so the effect may come in handy, but I don't know. I'll leave that up to you in your deck building. Here's another base. Now this is the Battlestar Galactica, so we'll just take a quick peek at this guy. Now you can tell it's a main character. It's got a starting hand of 4 and an influence of 12. So starting hand of 4 is pretty medium. You know, that's about middle of the road, is what you expect. But influence of 12 is a big boost. And what does it say here? Its effect is exhaust. Target challenging unit gets +2 power. So that's not a bad thing to have in your back pocket while you're playing, to get an extra 2. Especially if that colonial shuttle is the only thing standing between you and your opponent. +2 might be able to get you out of a jam. And last one for that pack is earn freedom points. Resolve 1 officer and 1 politician. Again, that means you need to have at least one card with the subtitle of officer and an additional card with the politician. It can't be 1 card with both officer and politician. I don't know that card exists, but as an example, you need to have 2 separate cards, 1 with officer and 1 with politician. The effect: gain 1 influence for each civilian unit or civilian mission you control. So another incentive to run like a political deck and have that civilian subtitle in their lab. There's that Cylon missile battery. Earlier I was crying that I didn't have enough, and now I've got more than I need. Outmaneuvered. Condition 2 event. Commit target units, so not too bad. There's accused again, and the old man also. Downed pilot we've seen. Oh yay, another colonial shuttle. Thank you. WizKids for that. Salt High Colonial Colonel. Cost of 4, power of 3, no effects, but you know, if you've got the right cards, say like that Battlestar Galactica, well, the Galactica target challenging unit. So you know, you could use Galactica with a 3 to boost that up to a 5. That's not too bad. Dr. Baltar, I think we've seen that one. Defeat target exhausted personnel. Yeah, we did see that one. Article 23 again. Centurion Assassin, again, that mystic value of 0 and a Cylon value of 4. It's tough to justify, especially with only a power of 2, but we've seen some effects that will change that. Here we go. Here's a pivotal mission if you're running a Cylon deck. We'll see you again running on the, again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the show. If you haven't seen the show, put this on pause and go watch the show, because it's a great show, and then come back and watch the rest of this and challenge me to a game. I'd love to play against you. We'll see you again playing off that Cylon regeneration, where the consciousness, once one of the humanoid Cylon die, their consciousness is transferred to another body that's the same thing. So you can have multiples of the same person. They're not the same person, they're a different person, but their body is exactly the same. So you can have multiple people who look like Sharon. Resolve 2 Cylon units. If you have a Cylon deck or a deck that is heavy on Cylons, that's not a problem. It is persistent, so it'll keep paying off for you until your opponent can get rid of it. Cylon units you control aren't singular. What that means is, say I have a Boomer, hell of a pilot, and she's got the Cylon subtitle or the Cylon keyword there. Normally when you have one of those on the field, it's unique, and you cannot play one with the same title. I talked about that earlier. You can, with the same name and subtitle. This one lets you get around that. If it's a Cylon such as Sharon, Valeri, or there are some of the others, their names are escaping me. You'd think I was a fan, but and I would remember that, but hopefully we'll run into some of them. If it's got the Cylon unit, and this is in play, you can have multiples of the same card out at the same time. So an interesting twist, maybe possibly a strategy that you could take advantage of. You can have up to 4 of each unique card in your deck. So 4 of those could almost guarantee that that it's going to come up, and you can play off that and start playing powerful cards in duplicate. So an interesting card. My opponent used that in our last game. I don't remember that he was able to take advantage of it, but yeah, a good one to have if you're running a Cylon deck or a Cylon heavy deck. Here's Apollo Ace Pilot, cost of 3, power of 2, mystic value of 1. You know, 1's better than 0. With a Cylon value of 2. He has the effect, the scramble effect. This personnel can defend as though it were a ship. So if someone's attacking with a ship, Apollo Ace Pilot is in your alert row. You can use him to defend as opposed to a ship attacking a ship or personnel attacking personnel. That allows you to mix it up a little bit and help defend yourself. Next one is Distraction Mission. When you play this event, you may commit a personnel you control. If you do, commit and exhaust target unit. So another little gotcha to your opponent, or perhaps if you find the right situation, use it on yourself, but a cost of 2. Mystic value of 4, which is great, but a Cylon value of 4. So again, you have to kind of weigh those together. And the last one, Raptor 757 with the Scout. This one has the keyword we haven't seen yet, manipulate. Each time this ship challenges and there is no defender, you may gain influence equal to its power instead of your opponent losing influence. So when you challenge someone and you win, or if you challenge someone and there isn't a unit to defend against, your opponent immediately loses influence according to what your power is. With this one, you could change that around and gain influence rather than your opponent losing it. So if you're low on influence, you can get some more back and be a little safer. Or if you're that close to getting 20, that could put you over the top. So that's an interesting card to have. Here's Apollo Political Liaison again. Wounded in Action, cost 2, mystic value of 3, not too bad, and the Cylon value of 2, so not too terribly risky. The mission effect, target unit challenging you while you have no defender gets -2 power. So if you're getting challenged, you've got no defense and no other cards to help you out, you can throw that down there, and your opponent won't hurt you as badly, won't take nearly as much defense as they would have. So another one nice to have for a little fail-safe, mystic value of 3, so that helps pay for the fact that you may not use it. You may not need to use it. There's D again, so we'll keep moving. Centurion Assassin. Again, mystic value of 0. That's a tough one. And a Cylon value of 4. Yikes. Test of Faith event that costs 2 with the Expedite. In this case, you would have to have 2 additional persuasion points from a stack you just exhausted. Target player gains 1 influence. So, every little bit helps. Here's number 6, Capricorn Operative, one we haven't seen yet. Cost of 3, again, mystic value 0. So a Cylon deck is a little tough, but put your noodle to it, and you can boost that. Maybe your units you won't be relying on mystic value to win challenges. And a 0 may not make a difference, but a power of 2, commit and exhaust, ready, target other Cylon personnel. So you can use number 6 there to put one of your Cylons back into play again, possibly get another challenge out of it. There's misdirection again. When a personnel you control would be defeated, you may sacrifice this mission, so not bad. And again, that mystic value of 4, big help. Raptor 227, a common, cost of 2, power of 1. Again, cannon fodder to put in your alert row if you need it. Pulling rank, we've seen that. Tom Zarek, of course, we've seen. There's Baltar, Science Advisor, commit to defeat target exhausted personnel. Yep, we've seen that. Multiple contacts, resolve one personnel and one ship. You have to have one of each of those in play. It does have persistence, and each time the ready phase begins, draw a card. That's never a bad thing. Working together, again, it's a mission, so there's no cost to it. One officer, one politician to ready all politicians. So there's where Zarek might come in handy. He's got that politician as a subtitle, along with a lot of Laura Roslin's cards have that politician, and of course, Billy. We've seen him before, but he also has that politician. So you could give your committed line a whole new life, move them all back to the ready, and be right back where you started and be able to challenge again. Here's Cylons look like humans. All players put a card from the top of their decks into their discard piles for each Cylon unit or Cylon mission they control. So if you're running a Cylon deck, you do not want to see that one. And it's got a mystic value of 4, so that's not too bad. Let's keep going here. I gotta hurry because the battery power on some of my cameras is not what I would like it to be. They're old iPhones and the battery is worn out, so we'll see if we can speed this up a bit. We've seen Billy before. Active Contrition. I don't think we've seen this one. Cost of 2. Target player reveals his or her hand. Choose a card from it. That player discards that card. So there's a little gotcha for you. Mystic value of 4, so that's good, and Cylon value of 1. So there's very little risk keeping that card in your hand. Mr. Gata, Senior Officer of the Watch. Each time this personnel challenges, you may ready it. When that challenge ends, play this ability only once during your turn. So he has the potential to challenge twice, but with a power of 1, you better be ready to have some kind of effect to help you out, unless your opponent doesn't have any defending units. Wounded in Action, we've seen that one. Cloud 9. Cost of 3, power of 2, mystic value 2, kind of middle of the road. It's a common, so you can tell by the values. Each time you lose influence, you may commit this ship to reduce that loss by 1. So that's a band-aid that you can use. Accused, we talked about that one. I like that card. The Old Man we've seen, and Red we've seen. Here's another Hilo card. Cost of 3, power of 2, mystic value 1, no effect. I don't know. Crashdown, we've seen that one before. Boomer, Hell of a Pilot, we've seen. Arrow of Apollo, here's a no-cost mission with the political keyword. Resolve 1 pilot and 1 ship. Search your deck for a card and put that into your hand. So that's a nice one to have, and since missions are 0 cost, it's a free card, so not too bad. Next one is a base card for the Battlestar Galactica, which we've already seen was on our Drata still here. Raptor 342 we've seen, and Bingo Fuel we've seen. That's another good card to have. So glad to see. I think I only had 1 or 2 of those. So I'm glad I got a couple more in my collection for that. There you go. Fly, be free, foil. Hand of God, that's a different one. Politician, resolve 1 politician, draw 2 cards. That's not too bad. Condition 1, ready target unit, cost of 2. There's that mystic value of 4. Ooh, what's the Cylon value of 3? Number 6, Capricorn operative we've seen. This Raptor we've seen. Yeah, yep. Yeah, we've seen all these, seen that. Oh, look, another Vision of Serpents. Galen Tyrell, Test of Faith, I think we've seen that one. Angry, when you play this event, you may commit an exhausted target personnel you control. If you do, defeat target personnel. Did we see that one? There's another one called Fury that has some very similar screenshots. I don't remember if we'd seen that one or not. And a mystic value of 4, so that's not a bad thing to have handy. Troop Freighter, each time you spend a resource stack, you may commit this ship. If you do, generate 1 persuasion. So if you need more persuasion, that's good. Here's another base, flat top with a starting hand of 3 and influence of 11. Each time you are challenged, you may exhaust this base. If you do, ready target ship. At the end of the challenge, commit that ship. So you can get a ship to defend yourself, but at the end it's going to disappear. So, well, it could be useful, I guess. And the martial law, I'm sure we've seen that one. Politicians can't defend this phase. Let's take a look here at the next one. We're getting kind of down there. Looks like what, 4 in the stack there, and then this one, so 5 total. Here's, I was saying, this one looks familiar. That's Fury. Target power gets X. That's the one we've seen. So we've seen that one before. Colonial Day, 1 civilian and 1 politician to resolve. Ready all civilian units. Yep. There's Dr. Baltar. We've seen that. Centurion Assassin. Yeah. Condition 2, commit target unit. Yep. Shuttle Diplomacy, 1 personnel, 1 ship. Gain 3 influence. Never a bad thing. Raptor 227. Yep. Test of Faith. Yep. There's Billy, nice guy. Active Contrition, Condition 1, ready target unit, nice. Hunt for Telium, resolve 1 ship, put a supply card into play in your resource area from your hand. Typically when you start a resource stack, you turn it upside down, that card loses all of its effects, its title, everything. It's upside down in your resource stack. So to be able to take that supply card and put it into your second row, the way to kind of bring it back, if maybe earlier in the game you needed those resource points, you needed those supply points, so you put a valuable card in your supply stack, and you kind of wish you hadn't. This card can get it back for you, so that's kind of a nice one to have. And what's that? Mystic value is 5. Ooh, and it's a mission, so it's free. Mystic value of 5 and a Cylon threat of 0. So it's actually a pretty good card to have handy. What is that? Is that yeah, that's one of the rares. Working together, ready all politicians. Helo flight officer, target pilot gets +2 power. That's not bad. All you have to do is commit Helo there, and you get another +2. A great way, those kinds of things, if your opponent is undefended, and your challenge is going to automatically take away influence. You can use, maybe you could commit that Helo to get an additional 2 to that power, and your opponent will lose 2 more than they normally would. So if they're kind of toward the end of their influence, they've got real low influence, that could be the difference. Or if you know you're going to get burned, you're going to get beaten in a challenge, you can do that. Let's see here. Active Contrition, we've seen that. Gata, Wounded in Action, Cloud9. Yep, now here come all the duplicates. Helo, my guy. There's Crashdown. Reformat is one we haven't seen. Discard X cards. Here's one that has multiple costs: 1 logistics and 1 persuasion. So if you build up a supply stack with a lot of cards, you could end up using that stack and burning a lot of extra resource points that you may have needed. So it might pay off to have a couple big resource stacks and 1 or 2 smaller ones to help pay for some of these lower cost cards, so you're not wasting a lot of resource points. This costs 1 logistics and 1 security. Its effect: discard X cards and draw X cards. So if you've got a dead hand that's not helping you out, something like that can be helpful. There is Crashdown again, and Green Urinor Cylon, Apollo Ace Pilot with the Scramble. Another base card, IHT Colonial 1, starting hand of only 3, but an influence of 12. That's pretty good. Each time you lose influence, you may exhaust this base. If you do, reduce that loss by 2. And you can see the power there, 5 to add to your fleet defense. That's not too bad. That would be a pretty good fleet defense number to add together. Here's another one we haven't seen: Grounded. Crisis keyword. I don't think I've seen that around in the different cards. And also political. Cost 3, here's that mystic value of 4, and only 1 for Cylons, so little risk, a high reward. Target opponent chooses 1, commit a ship he or she controls, or commit all personnel he or she controls. Yikes, that's a tough one. Cost is 3. Not too pricey and a big effect, and you get that big mystic value. So that's probably a good card to consider having in your hand. All right, we're down to three boosters. Mr. Gata, we've seen Wounded in Action, Cloud9, yep, we've seen all of these. I've already talked through all of them. So we'll keep going. Reformat, yeah, oh, here we go. Bingo, another foil, which you can tell I'm excited about. Laura Roslin, Colonial President. Cost of 3 logistics, 2 power, commit to draw a card. So I don't know, mystic value, what is that, 2, and a Cylon value of 2. So a little bit of a middle of the road personnel, but love getting those foils. So that's a nice one to get, especially when we're getting toward the end of the broadcast. It's a nice little thing to have. Increased loadout. There's Shelley Godfrey, Systems Analyst. This is one of the ones I was saying. Is a civilian and a Cylon. Commit to target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a personnel card in it, put that card on top of its owner's deck. So another little gotcha to take something from your opponent and potentially take it out of play for a good couple of rounds. Cost of 4, so a little pricey, and a power of 2, but hopefully if you're, and look at that mystic value of 0 Cylon, so it's a mystic value of 0, but a 0 on the Cylon, so at least it's a bit of a trade-off there. I just want to show off that foil. I love that. That's a nice foil card too. But with the right strategy, and you could get that to mechanically come through for you. Centurion Ambusher, cost of 4, mystic value of 0. Yikes. What was that effect? I think we've seen that before. Target Cylon threat gets +2 power if you commit, so not too bad. Advanced Planning, this is one we haven't seen. Mystic value of 4 and only a cost of 1. It's an event there with Expedite. If you exhaust a resource stack or a supply stack and have 1 additional logistics, you can use that to pay for this card, so you don't have to waste any points. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 1 on top of your deck and the other 4 on the bottom in any order. That's a good one if you've got one of those cards I was talking about that forces you and your opponent to draw, or opponents to draw mystic values. You could use that to kind of stack your deck and get a good mystic value on top and put the rest at the bottom. So you kind of help yourself out a turn in advance, or an effect in advance, or set yourself up for a good effect. So that's a nice one. It costs 1, mystic value of 4, so that's great, and only 1 on the Cylon value. So that's another low risk, high value card to have. There's Crackdown, Act of Contrition, Galen, Hand of God, Billy, yeah, we've seen that. Suspicions, let's see here, free-to-play mission with a mystic value of 4. Resolve 1 civilian and 1 officer. Target player loses 2 influence. That hurts. We've seen that. And Fury, we've seen. Passenger Cruiser. I want to say we've seen no effect. Cost of 3, power of 2. Mystic value of 3, which is nice, but you can tell that's a common. All that. We've seen that particular version of number 6. Combat Air Patrol mission. Resolve 1 pilot, 1 ship. It does have persistent. Commit target pilot you control to gain 1 influence. That's not too bad. Mining ship's a new one, but it's an uncommon, but not particularly noteworthy. But let's read the effect. Reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. Target opponent chooses 1. I think we've seen that one before. Target opponent chooses 1 to go on the bottom of your deck, and you put the other 1 into your hand. That's the same Battlestar base that we've seen. Earn freedom points is one we haven't seen yet. Resolve one officer, one pilot, or excuse me, one officer and one politician. Gain one influence for each civilian unit or civilian mission you control. Maybe we did see that. That sounds familiar. These are all starting to blur together. But look at that mystic value of 5 and Cylon value of 1. So another one that's high reward and low risk card. So here's the last one. Let's see if I can get this open. That's on camera. Come on. This one is fighting me. Hopefully that means there's a foil inside. Last pack. Come on, baby. Yeah, seen that one. That one. That one. Oop. No. 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 Ah. A little anticlimactic there at the end, but there you go. And that's you get a lot of cards out of these boosters. It's quite a bit, and now I've got something to do this afternoon to sort through all these cards, get them into my collection. That's all of them. That's all the packs. That's all the cards. Got a few foils out of it. That's great. One or two cards that I didn't have. So overall I'm satisfied. I like it. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. You learned about the game, and maybe interested enough to start playing. The 2-player starter decks. It's a starter kit. It comes with 2 pre-constructed decks, like little half decks that you can combine after you've played to make a full legal 60 card deck. Minimum to play is 60 cards and then 1 base. Hopefully you're intrigued enough. The 2-player starter kit comes with the two half decks that I talked about, instruction booklet, and it also comes, I said they're pre-constructed decks. It comes with a little script that you can follow that you use with those 2 half decks that walks you through the turn, and the cards are in a very specific order, so you can as you play, it tells you, okay, turn a card. You're going to put this card in your hand, or you're going to put this card in a supply because of this. And it gives you a little bit of insight onto why you would use that card in a different way other than just its face value. So it's really great to use that script to help you. They, in fact, even recommend that you do the scripted version first, then go back and read the instructions. To get all of the subtle nuances that go along with the cards. But you can get that 2-player starter out there on the various auction sites for a very reasonable price, usually around $10, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But if you're looking to get started, at least I can say in the United States, if you're looking to get started, it's very easy to pick one of those up and get started right away. With that script, so you can feel comfortable playing the game, and then you go back and read the booklet and you can learn more of the little nuances that go into all the different things. But hey, if you want to play it, reach out to me and maybe we'll get on camera and we'll play a couple of games and we'll see how we do. That having been said, today is January 25th, 2025, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention we do have a big event coming up on this channel and several other channels. It's called Winter Slam 2025. And what we're doing is myself and 4 other channels, we're having a big, everybody is hosting games and playing games all day. Some of them will run concurrently, so there's going to be plenty of content. Maybe you're watching one and something else is happening. That channel is, of course, recording it, so there's plenty of stuff to keep you busy. This will be happening there. See, I lost one camera already. This is happening on Saturday, February 22nd. We're starting in the morning. We're just getting started scheduling, so it's a little early, but we're going to be starting in the very early morning. We've got several players over in Europe, so when we're playing early in the morning, for them it's already the afternoon. So they're very comfortable. They'll be at the top of their game, but we're starting in the early morning and playing all the way through the evening, culminating in and this explains the name Winter Slam. Stephen of the Alien Investigations channel, a channel that I highly recommend. He and I will be squaring off in a game of WCW. I already put it away, otherwise I'd hold it up. Maybe I can reach it. Nope. But WCW Full Impact, a card game, not a collectible or a trading card game, just a card game you would designed that you would pick up out of a big box store. And just open it up and it's a party game for 2 to 6 players. Simulates wrestling. There's all the fun moves, face rake and pile driver and jump off the top rope, and there's even chairs in there. You can get a chair and give your opponent a little extra hurt there. And he and I are going to be playing that one toward the end of the day, and there will be other games after that as well. I would invite you to clear your calendar because there's going to be lots of games. What are we going to be playing? Well, the bread and butter of our group of players is the X-Files CCG, a really outstanding, very deep game that we all really enjoy, and so much so that there's actually a very vibrant fan base behind that. Keeping the game going, playing the games on my channel, Alien Investigations channel, Chasing the Dragon. I'll have links to all of these channels in the description after we finish up here. Chasing the Dragon, Do Not Pass Go, MMXFILESCCG. We're all going to be hosting games and talking about the games. What games? The X-Files CCG, great game. We're also going to be playing, I'll be playing Battlestar Galactica, the game we just saw now. I'll be playing that against a friend of the channel, Mike, who has Do Not Pass Go YouTube channel. We'll be playing Battlestar Galactica. We'll be playing Versus system using the X-Files expansion of the Versus system. So that's kind of fun. And Star Trek, the card game that was made by Fleer Skybox, the good one, before Decipher got the license and kind of pushed the Fleer Skybox version off the playing field. But a fun game centered around the original series. We'll be playing a couple of games of that. We're going to be seeing Scooby-Doo ECG if you haven't seen that before. It's based on the X-Files mechanics and the way that game plays, but a little lighter on the rules because it was designed for a younger audience, but still a lot of fun. And I grew up on Scooby-Doo, so it's got some nostalgia value for me, but still a deep enough game that it's intriguing enough for older players like me who enjoyed the show as a kid and like a good challenge and a nice deep game. So lots of games being played. February 22nd. Stay tuned to my channel and the other channels. We'll be promoting it, and as the schedule develops, we'll be releasing that too, so you can plan ahead to see the games that you want to watch and catch up on the other ones later if you want. Other than that, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I see I just gained a viewer right here at the end. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. This broadcast will be recorded, so you can go back and watch it again and maybe skip some of the stuff some of the long-winded stuff me talking about. But thanks for watching. Please do like this broadcast if you enjoyed it, and definitely subscribe to Studio Squim. I really appreciate it. I love making new content, playing these games, and the more subscribers and the more likes, the more I'm encouraged that people like what I'm doing, and we'll keep doing it. Anyway, enjoy whatever is the rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.